My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. My friend, welcome to this one. Welcome back. If I have brought on guests that blew your mind, I think this guest will do 10 times of that. You know, everyone knows how to lose weight, but look around. How many people are on pills? How many people are on diets? How many people are moving around out of shape? We can all agree that it's not about the knowing, but the actual doing of the thing. And I love my guest today because that's all he's doing is, okay, we know what to do. Are we doing it? There's a lot of us who go in the world and give advice about how to live your best life, but life has us packed in the corner. Why? So like we don't know what to do, we actually know what to do. It's not like we don't believe that we can do it. We actually believe we can do it. But why does life put us in the corner in 1 second, and the other second, the world is relying on us to give them answers? I am genuinely very curious about my guest today because he has decades of experience in the weeds doing this. And so he is a visionary business coach dedicated to helping entrepreneurs break free from financial roadblocks and burnout. With over 12 years in business and 15 years of studying quantum physics, neuroscience, and more, Dr. Vic has developed a unique success formula for achieving quantum leaps. His coaching empowers business owners to understand the root cause of burnout, unlock the potential, and create effortless success. Since 2019, Dr. Vic has guided hundreds of clients across 22 professionals to build 6 and 7 figures while working less. And my goal today is to really dive in and get whatever I can from this amazing, amazing human being. Dr. Vic, welcome to the world's best kept secret. I am so honored you made it.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
What did I leave out that is so important to the work you do when I was mumbling around what you do and what you don't do?
What I do is just to, help individuals really tap into that. You hear it before, like Tony Robbins says, the greatness within, and all these other, unleash the greatness within. And you've heard many people say these different things, but it's actually how to get into that and unleash that and to really experience the higher levels. Because when we look at life, whether it's fulfillment, whether it's money, whether it's your health, whether it's, business, you name anything of it, it's all about the conscious level of where you are that determines your success. Notice I didn't say what do you do. Not saying that those things aren't important, but it's more of the consciousness level, because that aligns with everything else in nature and the universe. Everything is vibration at the end of the day. And so when we understand that, that becomes a game changer for people to then all of a sudden be like, wait a minute here. So if he's really saying this, and he's also saying there's science that backs this up, and it's a physics, quantum physics, that is, because I'm appeasing both minds. I'm taking spiritual truths, ancient wisdom, but then at the same token, I'm like, hey, I know a lot of people in this day and age are very left brain dominant. We have to have the information in a certain way, especially in the business world. And so I'm like, okay, we'll use neuroscience. We'll use quantum physics. We'll use universal laws if you want. But that's the beauty of it all, because then we bring it well-rounded to help individuals achieve the higher levels of fulfillment. Because I think that's what we're all really seeking in this life.
I love it. I think there's a very big gap between knowing and being. And a lot of us know, but we don't really know why we are not able to tap onto the thing we know we can. And I'm very curious because there's a very clear gap between knowing, being the master, being the teacher of something, and actually living that thing. And so I want to dive into your story and your history, because I find that you have a fascinating combination of being a doctor and being this and being this, that there is no way this wouldn't make sense. The logic, the science, the spirituality, it just all comes together in your world. And I'm very excited because you touch every part of the world. There's people who are like, is it scientifically proven? There are people who are too logical. There's people who are like spiritual. And I feel like you bring this in one container and you go, okay, there's no more excuse. We have this thing here. And no matter what you believe in, hopefully makes sense. I would love to get into your story and let people see the depth of experience that you have backing up what you do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, I started out as a chiropractor, and I was like, I came out of school as chiropractors. I always say, want to save the world. Um, and before that, though, when I was in chiropractic school, just to give you a little background on how I got into quantum physics and all that is, um, we were learning about the history of chiropractic. And the guy who created chiropractic, his name is D.D. Palmer. He used to be what is known as a magnetic healer. It's very similar to like Reiki energy healing. And what was interesting though is I wasn't learning really what he did. He talks a lot about tone, which you can turn that word around as in the frequency or vibration. And I got frustrated, and so I was like, well, I want to learn the depths of healing. I want to understand healing at the most smallest, minute way possible. And
Mm,
so a friend of mine, actually a classmate, was like, "Hey, why don't you get into Reiki? That's energy healing. You heal with the hands." And I was like, "Ooh, that really resonated with me." So I
mm,
became a Reiki master and trainer. Then I went off to learn 9, 10, 11 different energy techniques because I just love learning. And I thought I was going to go learn the depths of healing, chiropractic, and all that, which I did. But what I didn't expect was understanding consciousness, life, quantum physics, the soul, all this other stuff, spiritual stuff, tons of that. And from that, I was like, okay, cool. Wow, I kind of understand there's these like laws to life. This is pretty cool. I never knew this. I know there's laws to the bodies. I was studying that. And I was like, there's actually laws to the universe that governs it. And it's like been, proven over many, many years. I was like, okay, this is cool. What happened was those when I came out of school, I was worried. I wanted to become successful. I wanted to be as successful as I can. So what does the mind do? It takes over. And
mm,
so instead of me trusting and all the things I learned, my intuition, trusting that, I put that to the side and I listened to all the business gurus, self-help, personal development,
mm,
leaders in my profession, all about, you have to grind, you have to hustle, you got to read, successful CEOs, read 60 books a year. Okay, thumbs up. I'm doing 80 to 120. So I went all into the mind, leading with knowledge to try to become successful. I
mm,
will tell you that in 5 years, I hit my financial peak. It was amazing. It was great. I was like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm making this much money and also helping people at the level that I am. But I was burned out and unfulfilled because I followed a path that wasn't for me. I
mm,
wasn't living my truth.
mm,
And so what ended up happening, I'll never forget this. It was October 2016. All of a sudden I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, we're gonna change things here because she worked with me in the office, or I'm walking away. This is not for me. I want to be fulfilled. It's not about the money.
mm,
And so all of a sudden, I repositioned my whole practice, shifted everything. I did some deep soul seeking. And I started to say, you know what? I need to just forget everything I'm doing. I'm
mm,
trying to learn all these things and try to keep up. And instead, I'm just going to trust the process. And I'm going to trust myself.
mm,
And so I shifted my practice. I did all that. And guess what? I lost 40% of business, how much I changed. I didn't expect that. Right. So
mm,
talk about getting a little scary there. Um, but what ended up happening was a little over a year later, trusting the process, knowing I'm the creator of my life. I stopped listening to all the rules. I wanted to be a pediatric chiropractor. I saw families already, and they're like, "Well, if you want to work with families, you got to work weekends." I'm like, "Yeah, who told you that? Like, what's the rule there?" And so I started to govern what my rules would be, and I really stepped into that. And it was scary, but long story short, a year later, we're right back where we were, and I was working 50% less. And I start and success from that moment on, it just automatically was coming. I didn't have to do any more work because I was in alignment with everything. And that's the thing in business, we think that we always have to do. What's the newest thing? How do we keep up with this? And I always tell people like that's force energy. So I want to understand the difference, share with people the difference between force and power. You have a
mm,
natural essence and power that you're emitting all the time. And the thing is when you let the mind take over, you think that I need to do this to do that. It's we call it classical physics or Newtonian physics, right? It's a
mm,
certain amount of force and energy you put in. Eventually, it's going to get an action or get the reaction that you want. Um, and so, but that's force energy. When you do force energy, this is what I learned in health. But when you do force energy, you're going to lose something in that process. You have to give
mm,
something up. It's just like when we force health, in any way,
Mm,
shape, or form, you're going to have to give up other areas of the body that are going to have to sacrifice from that. If that kind of
mm,
makes sense, because you're going to have more. Like I always tell people in chiropractic, if you're going to try to force something to change in your health, well, you're going to have
mm,
compensations that are going to come from that because you're not correcting the cause. And so, long story short, from that journey, that's where I applied these principles that I teach, and it was so uplifting because from that moment, like we hit, like here's an example, COVID hits, and I practiced in Chicago. It was one of the hardest lockdowns. We took a 40% hit in 1 month. We saw it happen. As soon as the announcement came, we just started having people calling off like crazy. And my wife looks at me and she goes, you seem way too calm in this. And I
mm,
said, I'm not, this doesn't faze me at all. I go, everyone's going to come back and we're going to be soaring more than we ever had before. And she's like, I trust you. It's just, you're very calm about this. And I said, there's nothing, I'm going to focus on what I want to create
mm,
and what I see. I said, here's the problem we see. Here's what and this is all my intuition just guiding me. It's not like I read something, or I'm just like, here's the issues I see that's coming to me, and here's how I want to react to that and share. And we did that. 3 months later, we're breaking records in the office, and we soared through COVID until we closed our office. Um, and it was again getting into those principles of again the creator of my life. What do I want to choose? Am I getting sucked? Am I going to get sucked into the fear, or am I going to create? So it's kind of my little bit of my journey there and my backstory a little bit.
There's so many points in there that I kept saying, whoa, 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 whoa. I want to go back and touch on, because I've been there. Before I started doing this, I was at a point where I was like, yes, the money is coming, the success is coming, but this is not it. There is something else that I need to be doing, and I need to change lens. I just don't think that anybody out there that I'm paying right now knows what it is. And so I shut down every program I was paying for, and I said, if it's going to happen, I'm going to make it happen. And I just said, I am not going to take any advice. I'm going to do something based on how I feel. And that's how I started this podcast. I decided I was going to help people who do like spiritual work, intangible work, and just use my skills to help them sell their stuff. And my calendar moved from 10 people to 300 people wanting to come. And when you talk about out of alignment, creating things from your head, I want you to sit in a little bit and tell people how to go, all right, is this the problem? Because there's people who have this problem and it's just not easy to nail it and go, this is it. I am in my head, I'm creating out of an alignment, and I need to shift energies here. Especially if you're not aware of the spiritual world. My husband has been there several times. He still doesn't get it. I was like, dude, you are out of alignment. Get out of your head and begin to create from somewhere else. And he just thinks there's another book, another thing. And I'm like, there is nothing. It's just hard for him. And I haven't broken through to kind of show him, because I think you have to be there. Like you have to be there to catch it. So I wanted to talk into people who are there and it's just not hitting for them yet. Like, this is the problem, dude. Wake up. Help me there. How do I know that my lack of unfulfillment and maybe whatever I'm experiencing is because I am headed in the wrong direction?
The easiest thing is the feelings that are coming up, right? It's the because energy, if you understand energy is it's feelings are one of the things that level that experience. So if you're feeling like you have fear, you have your worry, anxiety, frustration, any of those low vibration energies,
Mm.
that's a sign of out of alignment. That's a sign of not being aligned with many different things. So when I say alignment, that we can take it, when I teach the clients, I would say this is your soul's purpose. This is the reason why you exist in this world today. That's the alignment where I'm speaking of. Because when we can go to that higher level and we can align to that, that's the experience of feelings of joy, bliss, excitement. And when I say excitement, I want to give everyone a vision here. I want you to look at a 3-4 year old. If you have a 3-4 year old, go study them because they know what life is. And a 3-4 year old, the reason why I share this often is because if you look at the mind and where they are in life and their development stages and so forth, they're at their peak imaginative state. So they imagine this is where the tea party comes in. This is where they come up with the most craziest and coolest ideas because they're just letting their mind run wild. But the other thing is a 3-4 year old always does what they love. they're not going to do anything they don't like. They're only going to do what they love, and they're always going to chase that.
Mm,
And so in our life, when we are in alignment with our true nature, our true essence, we're going to have a higher emotional status. We're going to feel good and excited. And this is where the whole when you don't have that, that's where all of a sudden you are off kilter. You're off
mm,
your vision, you're off your purpose, you're off your line, and you're not aligned to the things that matter most to you. And some people say that you can call it your values. And
mm,
so from that purpose, that is the easiest way. The easiest way. And it's going to be harder for men because men are less intuitive. They're less in their bodies. They're less tapping in. They're more mentally looking at things.
mm,
Women are more natural to do that. But because women are more evolved, if anybody wants to know that,
mm,
neurologically speaking. So, but long story short, it's going to be that's going to be your guidance system. And just tap in to see where you are. Check in. Hey, where am I at? How am I feeling about this? I'm not feeling that excited about it. Okay, then hold off. No, but I got to get it done, right? The mind comes in. No, we got to get this done. We got to get to this point. We got to do this. No. Take a step back. Go reset. Go do something to get your energy right, and then recenter. And then from
mm,
there, come from that place. And when you can do
mm,
that, then all of a sudden now you're coming at a place where you can maybe get a little more creative, may see it from a different perspective. And then you can
mm,
tap deeper in and go, you know what? I really like this. Ooh, I'm getting excited. I'm getting a
mm,
little excited about that. Go with it. Run. Most of the time, that's
mm.
going to be where you need to be at.
That's so good. I know you've helped hundreds of clients at this point, and I am very curious with your process. How you get people from this is confusing, this is frustrating, this is bringing me anxiety, this is like low frequency to oh my God, this is it. We're taking off. Take me through that process if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, of course. So the first thing and the most thing that it's the first thing we work on anytime I work with a client is getting their vision. Now,
Mm,
when I speak of vision, you can call it life's purpose. You can call it the reason why they exist in this world. There's a lot of different ways of how we get to this point, and it's really just giving a clarification of their life's work that they're going to do. Like my vision, I tell people all the time, my vision is just to raise the consciousness of individuals so they can remember the greatness of who they are. That's it. Everything I do in my life, in my marriage, with my health, with my businesses, it has to align to that. And if it doesn't, then I'm off kilter, I'm off alignment. And so I make sure that everything comes from there. So vision is the most critical thing that we do. And then we break it down into different elements of their life. So I always say, I kind of explain like a business. You have a parent company and you have all these other child companies that you have to, make sure they're all in the same lining up to the same principles. But then we look at different elements of their life because we want to compartment them down. So you got your health, you got your mind, you got your relationships, we got money, and so forth. And so it's one of the things where we create little visions of those and make sure they align to that. And the reason why we do all this work is because from that moment, now when it comes to Doc, I'm looking to do this in my business. I want to do this. Okay, well, does
mm,
that align with the vision? I don't know if it really does. Okay, then we're not doing it. But I can make so much money off it. I don't care. Like you're gonna make the money, but you'll be unfulfilled. Trust me, I've been
mm,
there. I mean,
mm,
I tell people all the time, like I speak what I've done. So it's like, for example, I had a speaking gig that was gonna make me like $10,000. And it was like 4 weeks. I was gonna be presenting to different groups. And at the time of my life, what I was doing there was not in alignment at a certain point to what I wanted to go with my life. This was also starting to get into
mm,
coaching. I was about to write my book. I was like, I'm going this route. That doesn't align for what I want to do.
mm,
Um, and I turned it down. And one of my friends is like, "Are you crazy? That was good money you could have made." I said, "I don't do things for money. Like I know that would have
mm,
made me money, but that would have distracted me
mm,
from doing all these other things I want to do that actually fulfills me more."
mm,
And so and I actually ended up making way more money going the other route, not even knowing that. So
mm,
it's again, that's the critical part of what I start with. And then the next step is and this comes over time and it's custom. So it's not like I have a cookie cutter process of how this works, but it
mm,
becomes now we get into like the subconscious mind work and we see what's coming up for an individual. Because my clients will tell me all the time, they'll tell me their fears and they'll say, like, oh, I got triggered here, or this happened here. And I'm like, all right, now we can get into the second phase of coaching. And like, what's that? I'm like, we're going to get into your blocks. What do you mean?
mm,
I'm going to talk about your knee jerk reactions that you don't realize you're doing. The programs in our mind that we've been conditioned over so time that we're so clueless that it's
mm,
even going on. Um, and I'm like, that's where we start to get into that work and really start to break those things down. Because
mm,
I was reading and listening to Proctor, and I believe, I forget who said this, but it's so true in so many ways. 95% of success, 95% of the time is mindset, and 5% strategy.
Mm.
So I tell people, and I'm like, that sounds about right, because I 90% of my coaching has to do with mindset, subconscious mind, making sure their energy's in the right place. And 5% is about 10% strategy, business strategy, concepts, and so forth. But so we got the vision, we get into subconscious mind and blocks. And then the biggest thing is teaching them how to get their energy right and keep their energy centered, because whether you believe this or not, the spirits and spirituality and ancient wisdom has talked about there's an energy field that we have around us. They call it the aura, right? So a lot of people, when they hear that, like, oh, I don't like that. Okay, well, fine. We'll go to the biophotonic field. That's what the science calls it. Or we can call it the electromagnetic field, or we can call it the torus field. Like, there's also the name for it called the morphogenic field. I can keep going on and on. You can see there's a lot of different names, different studies for this. So we've proven that this exists. And this was 4,000 years ago. They've known this. But why I'm bringing this up now is because that's an energetic field that we create. And we're emitting it out into a field. You can call it the universe. You can call it the quantum field if you want. And so I teach my clients that you're always emitting energy. And so the goal is to make sure that we're always emitting the energy that we want to put out, because every action has a reaction, right? And a lot of times we think of that as Newtonian physics, which is true. If I do this, then this is going to happen, which sometimes people we call karma. But at the same token, quantum physics is more getting into the energy, or quantum mechanics, I should say, gets in more to the energetic component. What about whatever I'm sending out, thoughts and emotions, how they bind together? That creates an electromagnetic field. That is what I'm going to bring back to me. So why don't we make sure that our energy is always in alignment as much as we can? Because at the end of the day, we look at, in the business world, it's all about the grind, hustle, sweat, equity, and so forth. And so what I say is, yeah, there's a grind and hustle in what I teach, but it's the grind and hustle is making sure your energy is where it needs to be every single time. Because again, at the end of the day, success is based on where the consciousness level you are at. It's not about what you do at all. It's all about the consciousness. It's all about the energy. And if we get the energy right, everything else comes into alignment. And then all of a sudden a client calls me one day and goes, "You won't believe what happened." I'm like, I might surprise you. And then they tell me, I'm like, "Man, there's miracles happens every day. That's a sign you're in alignment." Because that's why I kind of show my clients then, like, how to see it, because we're not trained this way. I wasn't trained this way, but I always had an intuition of like, this is how life is. And it was like, no, this is what you should do. And it's one of the things it seems so foreign because we have been conditioned so long about mind and mental aspects of it. And this is what we should do. And it's like, no, there's another level to what everything comes together at. And that's kind of what I teach in the process.
So if I got you right, the first thing is like a vision. Why are you here? If you don't know why you're here and where you're going, there's no point in any success, money that you're trying to chase, because you don't know where you're going. You don't know why you're here. You don't know what your purpose is. So what are we doing? Two is, when that is unlocked, is there any part of us that is blocking us from going there? Which is now the subconscious blocks. Is there anything that is resisting? Is there anything that is pushing you back from going to your vision? Three is the energy, mastering your energy, the frequency, karma. People can call it whatever they want. Because I believe that the world gives you back what you push out. She's so true. Like, you go shout at someone, you probably get it back. Like, I tell my husband, my mood just depends on what you bring in. If you come and scream at me, dude, it's not going to be, I love you. It's not going to be something pretty. So if you want the worst bit of me, you bring the other. There's a version of him that I tell you that every time you bring this guy out, you're going to get me out. And so if you want this version of me, I need this version of you. And so it's just what you put in is what you get out. It's so clear. So it's vision, subconscious awareness, and mastering energy. Did I get that right, or did I miss something out of that process?
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the basic core of it.
Hmm.
Because then from there, the only thing that's left is inspired action. And that just comes. That will come. It always does. Because when we're in alignment with our vision, and we're in alignment with all those things, the ideas, the people, the circumstances, whatever you need, they always, I mean, again, this is stuff that's not new. I teach stuff that's not new. Because I really, all my studies have shown me everything's out there already. And so for me, I'm not gonna. And I've had a marketing coach is like, you got to coin it a certain way. You got to say it, and I'm like, for what? I'm like, that's the same. I get the marketing side, I really do, but I'm like, I'm just creating more confusion in the world because it's the same
Mm,
thing.
mm,
I'd rather just speak what's out there and then just
mm,
teach people how to utilize it in a certain way. Because to
mm.
me, like again, all my studies, I like when I did energy, I stopped studying energy healing because I realized everything's just energy. I really believe it's just different ways of how people did it. I'm like, it's the same thing. It's just they're looking at it from this lens. I'm like, that's all it
Mm.
is. So I'm like, why don't I just create my own lens then and go for my own route? Because I'm like, that's what makes the most sense for me.
Take us through a few interesting people you've worked with and help us understand the different angles of how we can move from knowing to actually being or doing the thing. Because I feel like there's that little gap where you actually live, experience whatever you see. There's people who are obsessed. I can grateful I can be the next Tony Robbins or whatever, but it's just in their head. I call it motivation. I'm like, no one needs motivation. You have to move from that stage to actually being this thing. And I think that for me, most of why I don't like marketing is a lot of people love to use marketing to fill the gap, which is I am not there, so I have to use the word. So every time someone comes to me and says, write my copy, I ask them, what is the gap you're trying to fill with copy? Because people don't care about the copy. People care about your truth and where it's coming from and what you've done that can help them. And so when I say that, they go, what do you mean? I'm like, if you're looking for copy and the right words to say, we are filling a gap here. So why don't you just talk about the things you've done and forget the things you haven't done and everyone wins? So I want you to take us through the people you've worked with and help us kind of understand what is possible, the shifts possible, and maybe the person who is even not ready for this, because maybe not everybody's ready for this. Like there's people who even don't believe they are worthy anything. So maybe that person is not ready for your work. But I would love to know, like the people you've worked with, what comes up for you when it comes to this is like the things I can think about right now that might help someone who is going, I wonder if I'm ready for this work. I wonder if it would work for me. I wonder if I need this or whatever.
So know that we are the creators of our life, right? So
Mm,
we are always creating. So when I work with clients and what you're sharing, the being side, right?
mm,
So the mind can time travel. All right. So your mind time travels. And if you think I'm crazy, think about what you did yesterday and think about what you have to do tomorrow. You just time
mm,
travel. The
mm,
body's always in the present, right? It's always here. But our mind can time travel in different arenas. So when it comes to working, like talking about clients in the being element, a lot of the work I'll share is like, okay, who's that future self? I want you to define success to you in the future self or where you want to become. What
mm,
does that look like? Right? How's that person talking? And I help them define it because it's their words. It's not me giving, because the thing is, I don't want to press onto them anything. I want them to, I'm pulling it out of them rather than me telling them. And so I'm like, what does that look like? How does that person look like? How do they dress? How do they talk? What are they wearing? How are they, what's their mood? What's their focus? What's their, and we break all that down. This is part of the little part of the vision side. And then I say, okay, great. Got clarity with it? Yeah, I got it. I see it. It's in my head. Okay, great. Now bring that into the present moment. Now, that's how, the way you bring it in the present moment is you be that person every single day. So when anything shows up in life and business and so forth, you always ask yourself, what's my future self? How would they respond? How would they act? And if
mm,
you take a moment, if you can't, if you're thinking, take a moment, just think about it into the future, who I am, bring it here. It's okay. That's who the person is. In
mm,
some, in the spiritual realms, they call this downloading. There's many people that have talked about this. It's not new. In Think and Grow Rich, he has it in his book, chapter 14. He talks about having a board group of anybody who's alive or dead. So it's not crazy. It's been out there. But this is, you can go into the future, ask, bring yourself into the present, and then you can go and say, all right, great. How would that person respond? Because what I'm trying to get them to do is elevate the reaction, elevate how they look at things, because a lot of times we get caught up in our stuff. If something comes up, we're going to be triggered. Oh my God, here comes this, or look what happened here. It's just like COVID hit me 40%. I'm like, oh my goodness. It was like, no, how would future Vic respond? How's the
mm,
person I'm working to become and learn how to become? How would they respond? And that's
mm,
literally what I asked myself. And I was like, it's all good. We got this. It's all good. Like nothing bothered me. Stayed in a neutral point. And I talk a lot about this in my work. Um, because from neutral point is when we can create. And so that's, so when you're looking at it, so just to help the listeners here a little bit, it's
mm,
again, you defining your life and what it means and what you're working towards. What do you want to become? What is the thing that you're looking to be, to turn into be, and then be that person now. So again, come back to thinking, how they think, how do they react? What are they focusing on? What's their mood and attitude, right? How are they living their life? And you be that now, because that's how you create the energy to all of a sudden. Here's a little bit of quantum physics here. When you emit the energy and you start to be that person, all of a sudden the world's going to start to shift and change, and you're going to start to respond that way. And then it's your job, your mind, because we got to pull the mind into this, is to say, okay, mind, you tell me and show me, make me be aware of when I'm starting to see clues that, yes, I am being that person. You can program your mind. It's not hard. I mean, it's simple to do. It's not easy. It's simple to do. And so I want to make that clear. But that's how you can really transform. I mean, look at, again, 3-4-year-olds. I can't make it any more simple. 3-4-year-olds dress up and act like princess. If you got a dog, whatever, princesses, they act like superheroes, they act like whatever that is. I mean, they act that way. Why? Because it's excitement for them. They want to do that, right? So that's usually the secret. It's really no secret, really. It's just there's many people that have talked about this, but that's the approach to it and how to really create radical change.
You say quantum leaps, and it's not clear to me what you mean when you say quantum leaps. So could you take me through anyone who's had like a quantum leap, and what does that mean? Does it mean 0 to 10,000 in 10? Like, what is quantum leaping, and how does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, quantum leap, it's just a term that when all of a sudden everything's harmonic resonance or everything's in alignment, like we've been talking about, and their energy is there, and all of a sudden now things are attracting to them. They've created so much alignment to the energy and what they're emitting and their vision and all these things put together that all of a sudden they're in pure alignment and things start to speed up. It doesn't always have to for the most part, but it's a leap in a different level of energy. So like, here's an example. So in life, we all have a pattern that keeps playing out, right? It's the same pattern, it's the same stuff over and over. And with quantum physics, they call it, when you have a quantum leap, you collapse a wave and all of a sudden there's a new emergence of energy that comes that you're going to attract into your life. Can this be, doubling your business in 4 months? Absolutely. We've seen it happen with clients. Does it mean that all of a sudden you find you have your health all of a sudden just skyrockets in the next 3 to 4 or 6, 8 months? Yeah, it's a massive shift in your life because you got in perfect alignment. And there's different elements of how that works from the mind. We kind of talked a little bit about this stuff. Mind. There's also, I said you got to tell the mind to pay attention to the things that we call them synchronicities, because that's how you know you're in harmonic resonance or you're in that alignment with energy to your vision. And so when you get really, really good, because remember, everything's energy at the end of the day. As I said earlier in this, I want to tie everything together. Your level of success and where you are and everything, no matter what area of your life, is all based upon the consciousness level of where you are. Once you shift consciousness, that's a quantum leap. You're going to attract a whole different world or more of the world of what you're desiring, from that perspective.
So you're not really a business coach, are you?
I am. We go over business concepts. I can talk all about them. From AI to marketing to strategy to all that fun stuff. But like I said, it's about 10% of what I do in business coaching.
I feel like you are not a business coach. You are just a lifesaver, because this work can just release every area of someone's life. So I think for me to call you a business coach was a mistake, because you're not a business coach. If you're not a miracle worker, then you're something else. Like, you're not a business coach. That is 1/10 of you. I think the work you do is, I don't know what it is, but it is just an overhaul. Because of, help me tell people how the work you do can help them, because I feel like we've put you in a box that you don't fit in. And I want people to understand the expansiveness of the work you do, because I feel like I haven't done a good job bringing you up when I did. And I feel like right now I sold myself short when I brought you up. So can you tell people expansively the effect of the work that we are doing here? Because I feel like it's bigger than I started when I pressed the button.
Yeah, no, I mean, think about it this way. So like, when you're in business, you want to strive, you want to make more money, you want to have more success, you want to have more impact. Let's say depending on what your business is, everyone's different. I've worked with 23 different professions. So it varies on the individual. But let's say you want to expand and so forth. Again, no matter what, your business problems are your personal problems. And so we think that, oh no, this is a business issue. This is not a personal issue. Right. But no, it is, because everything in life is interwoven. Nothing is
Mm.
separate. When you do things in one area, you can do them in all areas of your life.
Mm.
And so for me, this is again my own experience. What I went through first was I found out that I had a lot of subconscious blocks when it came to finances, when it came to all these different things. And I had low self-worth. So that's why I always listened to others, listen to the books, listen all I trusted in that rather than trusting in myself. And
Mm.
so when it came a point where I was like, wait a minute, the path to success for entrepreneurs is not about doing. Even though I said again, I want to be real crystal clear here. 90% of my work is mindset, 90% of my work is consciousness work and so forth. 10% of it comes into strategy, business, and so forth. So I do bring business concepts on. I do teach people business principles and how to, depending on what their business is and what their needs are. And I can talk a lot about that stuff. But at the same token, it's at the other side of it is I know for a fact the doing and the strategy will not be successful
Mm.
unless you have the conscious there first. Because how many times you have two people take the same program, one blows up out of the water, does unbelievable. The other one doesn't. And they did the same work. Because I'll tell you, I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I can tell you, none of them did not have the drive. They all had the drive to be successful.
Mm.
They all wanted to be. And you can have two people do the exact same thing, do the exact same energy, study the exact same way, and one's going to have vastly different results than the other. Why?
Mm.
It's the consciousness level. You got to address that first. Get those programs out. So that's where my work comes in. Yes, does my work also come into affect a lot of their life? Absolutely, but that's the work I want to do. That's the work I
Mm.
want to make sure that I'm not just, because again, force energy as you focus on one area of your life and that's it. Power and consciousness is affecting all areas of their life, not just one.
Mm. All
I hope that
business
helped give a little more
problems,
clarity.
yeah, all business problems are not necessarily business problems. Or life problems are not necessarily life problems. Most problems can be traced back to your energy. Oh, that's really good. When we first talked, when you were driving and I tried to call you to set up the call, you said, Prima, the problem people have is guru overwhelm. Can you help me talk about guru overwhelm and why trying to study from everyone under the sun is not necessarily the answer to the frustration people are feeling today?
Very simple way to explain that. Neuroscience, the brain, they've done studies on this. When we have too many options, let's say you're going to choose something. Let's say you're going to go get ice cream.
Mm.
And you've probably been to some ice cream shops where they have like 18 different options and you've never been there before.
Mm.
Does it take you a minute? Does it take you like a quick second to pick your ice cream flavor? Or are you thinking about it for a little bit? Most people are going to be thinking about it for a little bit. They've done studies
Mm.
where there's they looked at two different studies and they said how many options is too much and how much is not. So why am
Mm.
I bringing up ice cream and what does that have to do with gurus and this and that? It's because everyone is always listening to everyone and studying so many different people. And what that does is it creates confusion and we don't have clarity. I always tell people, like when people work with me, they get access to all my books, they get access to all my online classes and all that. I tell them, study me first. Don't do anything else right now. Just study
Mm.
everything I have. I want you to know how I talk, my understanding of how I speak in certain ways, my philosophy, how my lens is on life. So that way it'll enhance your coaching experience with me. And then
Mm.
afterwards, yeah, do I recommend things to my clients? Absolutely, books and so forth. But it's because when we go and let's try to listen to every single person, what's new, what's this, and let me face it, guys, we're in AI world now. So if we thought internet was making things faster, oh, you better sit back. I mean, I gave up trying to keep up with AI. Let me just a year ago, when there was like 1,500 new AI things coming out every month. I'm like, forget this. I can't keep up. So the thing I'm trying to say is that you have to, again, and what helps you navigate all that is
Mm.
I want to pull it all back to what we talked about. And that's your intuition, your guidance, what gets you excited.
Mm.
That's what's going to lead you to what you should follow, but make sure it's that one thing and study it to the fullest. If you're going to
Mm.
study, I don't know, I can name a lot of different authors, study all their work, immerse yourself into their world. Because what you're actually doing, if you want to speak energy, is you're
Mm.
downloading their energy. And then
Mm.
a part of that becomes you. And what happens when we have overload or we're
Mm.
just following all these different people. We're staying at a superficial level and we're not really downloading their energy, which is going to help shift us and help us see things in different ways.
Wow. I really like, because I feel like there's a point in time where I hired coach after coach after coach after coach. And my husband was like, try this other guy. I was like, mm-mm, I am coached out right now. I am maxed out with gurus and I don't want to know. And she was like, so you're going to give in? I'm like, no, I'm going to ask the person that has the answers, me. And I like what you said before, which is ask your future self. Because I think I read something from Alex Homozy when he said most people, if they could just pace themselves 30 years from now, they would give themselves better advice than everybody they're paying. And I thought that was just in sync. Like a lot of people we're hiring them for answers that we actually can find in ourselves, but we haven't looked. And I think that if there is anything that I wanted to share today, it's that. Like most of the answers you actually have. And you can guide yourself perhaps 100 times better than hiring the next 100 gurus. But the part of you that is going to get in touch with yourself and say, okay, who is Prima 30 years from now? And what advice would she give? I feel like that's a place most people never get themselves to sit. And hopefully, if we did anything today, we encourage you to just do that because energy is everything. Vic, I know that you do coaching, but I don't know if you're open or what you have. I would love to get like a sense of how you support people today or what's open versus what's not and stuff like that. If I was thinking, oh my God, this is the answer, this guy can help me. How can I, dive into the world that you've created?
Yeah. I do have, for those who are always interested, I do a free discovery call to get to know about your world, where you are, the challenges, where you want to go. More importantly, what is it that you want to create? Like what's important to you and what do you want to create for yourself, your life, and so forth. And then from there, I'll know that, oh, I can definitely help you here. And I
Mm,
share how I can do that. For those who just want to follow me, I'm on Instagram and on social medias and so forth, where you can see where I'm sharing as much as I possibly can. And then I have a free ebook. A new one that I just came out with where it's all about, we talked about quantum leaps. And
mm,
so it's all about just 5 elements based on quantum physics and
mm,
how you can actually create a quantum leap for yourself. It's a simple read. I don't know, I think it's like 7,000 words, totally free. And you can check that out and so forth. But those are some of the things that get into my world and kind of share a little bit of how you can really create
mm,
step into your power. Like you said before, like it's really, when I say remember rediscover your greatness. It's
mm.
actually one of my titles of my books, but that statement is what you're sharing. It's everything's within. We have everything
Mm.
here.
We do.
It's just we've been looking. So when you look outside, you're never going to find you're never going to find
Mm,
the beauty that we have in. And so the
mm,
purpose is to remember that greatness and know, wow, I have all within, and I can
mm,
be whatever who's a 30 years from now, right?
mm,
And again, same thing. We can do these things. And I think that's
mm,
what's happening in the world today is we're coming up to a point where
mm.
it's going to be like, no, we do have the power to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's why my push to do this work and for the last 5 years has
Mm.
been there.
The person listening on the other side is trying to make a decision about how do I take the step. I would like you to tell us a little bit more in the coaching containers. Do you do group? Do you do one-to-one? Do you before I book the call, I need a little bit of clarity of can I even, like, does he have the ability to take me on? So I would like you to talk a little bit about the capacity in which you help people for that person who is saying, yeah, I'm ready, but I don't know if I should book a call or not. But they're like, okay, does he offer one-to-one, group, or, something like that?
I appreciate the more specifics on that.
Mm,
I do one-on-one coaching.
mm,
Couple spaces available. Um, that just because I want to make sure, for me, coaching is all about really creating transformation, and I want to make sure that I can give my energy to my client at the level that I want to, and so
Mm.
forth. So right now I do one-on-one coaching. And like I said, I have a couple spots available as of right now, as we're doing this recording,
Mm.
and and that's where the call comes in. Cause like I said, I like to make sure that I can be able to help and really make some deep transform, be able to help the person. Cause it's not about, oh, I have another client. It's more about like, can I
Mm.
help this person? Cause that's what I really get excited about. Just as a
Mm.
chiropractor, when I don't get excited about getting new patients, I get excited about the change in their life and what that's going to mean for their totality of their life. That's where I'm like, that's the fun. That's what I get really excited about.
I'm interested in Victor's work because one, he doesn't do work for money. Like he does work because he wants to do it. And two, I think you really have to be a match. Now he doesn't even do group containers, which means it's his one-on-one time. Now this is a guy who's running 3 businesses. If you're lucky to get into his program, that should be a massive win. Victor, it's been amazing chatting today. What did we leave out that you feel like we need to say to the person listening right now?
The last thing I'd say is going to challenge your mind a little bit, but
Mm.
trust the process, have fun in
Mm.
the process, and know this. And I'll give you a little piece of advice at the end of it.
Mm.
Know that everything is always working out for your greatest good and for the greatest good of all humanity. Now your mind say, I don't know, I'm struggling, I'm this, I'm here, I'm seeing this. Hold on. Look at your past and look at the events that showed up in your life
Mm.
and see how they were like, you could not imagine how they just aligned. Because let's say you didn't get the job you wanted, or let's say you didn't get the sale here, or you didn't get this opportunity here, but you look back and you go, man, but if this happened, then I wouldn't have had that. And man, I'm
Mm.
so happy this happened, be that. And we forget that when we're in the moment. And it's not fun when we're in those moments. But knowing that everything is always, always, always working out for your greatest good. Your job is
Mm.
just to emit that right energy out there,
Mm.
and everything's going to align. It's going to work out. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it so many times in my life now where I'm just like, and I'm very left brain type A personality. I've learned to let go a lot of that, but now in my life I just sit there and go, all is going to work out, even when it's like you're right at the last minute, right at the last second, and it looks like everything's just not going to happen, and all of a sudden it's like something comes out of nowhere and you're like, yep, thank you, I was in alignment, all works.
It's funny because right now we're in Uganda with my husband. My husband is from UK. I'm from Uganda. So right now we're in Uganda. It was mom's birthday and all of those things. So we're in Uganda. And in Uganda, power can just disappear for no reason, no explanation. Internet can just disappear. And so my husband is always like up, down in emotions. And I'm like, dude, you really can't control these things. And so sometimes I have like a podcast and the power goes. And it's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I think it's gonna be all right. And then I would just dress up, put my equipment up, and like 5 minutes the time he'll be going. Sometimes I think you're crazy. Like, how are you so calm? You have an interview and it's 5 minutes, you have no power. Like, yeah, that's not my problem to worry about. And literally 5 minutes of time, or 2 minutes, sometimes 1 minute, it's like boom. It's like a part of you must be a magician. I'm like, no, I just don't stress about stuff that I can't. And to your point, how I want to end this, to your point of everything that is happening to you is happening in response to you. Again, like to go back to my husband because he has a way of reaching a place and he's like, the world is conspiring against me. This is my rock bottom. So the other day there was someone on the podcast, and one day woke up, he had lost his marriage of 27 years. One day he drove straight through a traffic red light and killed someone. So now he got, first of all, we were supposed to get in, I don't know, some complicated places, but first he was in coma. And so now he was really, really, really ill. And because of that, his job for about 25 years was terminated. And now he has no wife. He's dying in the hospital, and his job has been terminated. And he said, you know what, Prima? I think that caused me to kill myself because I woke up 6 months later and I had cancer. And in that moment, I felt like I was standing on the ground and there was no earthquake, and that ground just dropped 100,000 miles deep. And I kid you not, that was the time when I decided to change my life. And so I told my husband this story because everything that is happening to him, I feel is normal. But it's like, this is rock bottom. I'm like, no, it's not. And so I share this story to say that One decision can lead to another and lead to another and lead to another. And when you look back, it's a string, like everything is connected. So to Victor's point, everything is energy. Victor, it's been amazing having you today. Thank you so much for being such a great guest.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Everything about Victor will be right in the show notes, whether you're on a podcast platform or whether you're on YouTube or wherever you're watching this, everything will be in the show notes. I know that Victor does not have capacity. However, there is a few ways you can become a part of this rapidly growing community. I want to create the biggest community in the world. The world's best kept secret is a community that is going to grow and bring you the best talent ever. We started from 1 subscriber 2 months ago. We're now at 500. And this is how you can be a part of this journey. 1, subscribe. 2, review. 3, do anything. Wherever the platform you are, if they're saying follow, subscribe, do those things. If they're saying rate, do those things. But the one most important thing that you can do to become a part of this community is share this message with just one person in the world whose life can be turned around by Dr. Victor. Because this is the whole intention of the whole podcast. Getting people who have life-changing work in front of those whose life and business depends on it. Who can you think of that right now needs this life-changing work? You have one task: to share this episode with them. As always, I see you in the next episode, and I hope this one was really insightful for you. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the world's best kept secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.